Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming today. My name is Karen Bettler. I'm Associate Director in the Department of Student Leadership, and this is my colleague,
Melanie Bandu. You can also call me Mel. I am the Program Coordinator for Student Leadership Development.
And we have several guests with us today. We've got some folks from the Cobb County Elections and Registration. They have brought a mock voting booth for us to play around with at the end. But today we're going to talk all about voting. So we're really just going to go through all sorts of things today. One, for the folks who maybe haven't registered yet, we're going to show you how to register. We're going to talk about what you need to know before you even vote in the first place. We're going to talk about how to vote, and we're going to talk about some more important info, and then leave some time for any questions that you might have. So how to register. So for those of you who haven't done it yet, you have a couple of options. Kennesaw actually has a partnership with TurboVote, which is a really great resource. It's kennesaw.turbovote.org. I almost said .edu, that's not correct. .org. But what's really great that on this website is there's several things that you can do, and it gives you lots of different tools. You of course can register. It's especially great for people who may live on campus and aren't really sure what address to put in if they want to register to vote while living here on campus as their primary residence. And it just helps populate the correct address so that you don't get registered to vote at some weird precinct that isn't correct. You can also check your status there. And also you can sign up for election reminders. I know that sometimes like the elections will sneak up on us. The presidential, like the national presidential ones, no, those are pretty obvious. But some of the other ones, the local elections, will kind of sneak up us and we don't even realize that they're happening. But all of these elections are important for us to vote in. And then there's a lot of great other additional information on there. Now this is not a marketing, not a commercial for TurboVote, but I do invite you guys to go on there. And especially, it's hard to see here, there's a place where you can just put in your address, and if you click on it and go, it gives you this whole long page of all this information that is similar to what we're going to be going today. We're going to focus more on the official voter registration and the voter check your registration at mvp.sos.ga.gov or gov.
Yeah, you said it.
Okay, good. I said it right. Okay, good. You can also, if you don't want to mess with TurboVote, you can register directly through the state online. We think online registration is great. We think that sometimes the paper registrations can just take a little more time, and we are getting real close to the deadline here. I want you guys to get your phones out or your devices. You're gonna play along, right? We want you to follow along. We want you to be able to check your own information. What I did is I took screenshots of mine and I blacked out some of my personal information so that we can follow along together. So what you do is you go to mvp.sos.ga.gov. And what you'll do is you'll put your first initial in, your last name, your county, it's a drop-down menu, and then your date of birth, and then you'll hit submit. And hopefully, if you are already registered to vote, it will pull up. If you aren't registered to vote, you won't get anything. So when you first log in, you should see this. You'll see your name, you'll see maybe the date you registered, your gender. What you really want to double check right here is that your status says active. If it doesn't say active, we need to fix that, all right? We won't do that here, but if it doesn't, come talk to us. We'll help you out with that later. And then all of that good stuff right here would also have the address that you are registered to vote at. That's what your residence address, and that's how they determine where you actually vote. If you continue scrolling down the page, and again, I did this on my computer, so your phone may look slightly different, but all the information should be on there. Up at the top here, you see email my precinct card, view my precinct card. I had a student recently say, oh, I lost my card. Oh, is that bad? I'm like, it's okay. You don't really need to bring it with you to vote. If it makes you feel better and has that a little bit of extra backup that you can bring with you, you can certainly print it out yourself or have it emailed to you so you have that. Over here, we will talk about this in a little bit. We're not going to go into it too much right this second, but we're going to look at sample ballots, and that is a great way for you guys to click on that, and it will give you your sample ballot, the things that are going to be on your particular ballot when you go to vote. And we'll look at that in a second. But right here, I blacked mine out. I don't know why anybody would come find me at my polling place, but we're gonna do it anyway. You should have a precinct name, and that's usually your location, where you're going to vote. And that's if you're going to vote on election day. That's the place that you have to go vote. You can't just vote anywhere. You have to vote on election day at that place that you see here. It also has the address. It will include the times. You can even click and get directions. It's so easy to find the information there. We'll also come back and look at some of these other things in a little bit. But let's look at the ballot, and that's you.
Alrighty, so it is so important to know what is on your ballot. Of course, you need to know how to register to vote. You need to be registered to vote in order to actually make your voice count. But a lot of people, when they go to the polling place, they don't know what is actually on the ballot, or they think just the presidential candidates are on there. No, it's like your tax commissioner, your district attorney, clerk of state court, all of those nice, amazing people. There's also some ballot measures on there. So all of those things that they are trying to bring to the constitutional amendments that they're trying to change, improve, whatever, you need to research those, because they oftentimes use wording that can be confusing for us, more like political jargon, but it's good to research those so you're aware of what you're actually casting your vote for. Write-ins, you can't do Mickey Mouse or anyone that you want to put. There's actually an official list of write-ins, and it's actually on TurboVote. Shameless plug. So when you have the time, you can research those. As far as updating voter information, so the upper right-hand corner next to the View My Sample Ballot, you can do that there.
In-person voting. So there's a couple of options. Obviously, we showed you where on election day you can find your information where you can go to vote. You can find the times, you can find directions, all of that kind of good stuff. Now, some things to know about when you go to vote. You need to bring a physical ID with you, and there are certain IDs that are approved and some that aren't. So usually, and I don't have the whole list here, but we can give that to you guys. Your driver's license, your Georgia ID, military IDs. They do need to have a photo on them though, so it needs to be a photo ID. Even your, who has an actual physical KSU ID? Okay, a few people. You can actually use that too. Special note though that the only IDs that our poll workers can actually be able to scan and just populate that in there are the driver's license and the Georgia ID. The other ones, they'll have to look up your information. So if you're in a real big hurry, you may just want to bring in your driver's license and just make that little hair faster. Also, you can't have your phone out. You can't be taking pictures. You can't be on phone calls while you're in the polling place. I know the first time that they went to these voting machines, I was like, what am I looking at? They're actually really easy to use, but the first time you go in there, they're a little intimidating. But the poll workers are very, very great about helping you through that process. Anytime I look a little clueless, there's someone there helping me. Anyway, the other thing that you can do, especially for those of you who may not be local, you may not be registered locally, is consider early voting. And so where you can find that is there should be a little tab right here. You guys will look on yours and you can click on it. It will give you a huge list. I didn't even screenshot this because I had so many options because I live in Cobb County. And it will list every single day and every single time and all of the locations on there. Some counties have more than others. I discovered this recently while talking to a student, and Cobb does have many, many. But this really helps folks who are maybe on a Tuesday, you've got class. You can't just skip class. You live like 2 hours away. Maybe you can't travel there to vote on election day. You have a lot of other options that you could potentially go on another day that maybe you're not as busy. The other thing to know is that there are some accommodations that can be made at the voting places. So if you have visual impairments, there are things that can help you with that. I believe does the voting machine read it to you, or is it an actual person?
It's the voting machine.
If the voting machine can read all of that to you, just know that we don't want anything to kind of hinder people who are able to vote to be able to vote. So there are all sorts of new tools and people who can help you with those things.
As Karen said, we don't want anyone that is able to vote unable to cast their ballot. So there's absentee ballot voting. So you have to apply, yes, and then you have to fill it out, of course, cast your vote, or not cast your vote, put in your information, your necessary address, all that good stuff, and then you're gonna mail it, or you can bring it to your local election office, and then just make sure you keep track of that. There's actually a ballot tracking notification. I think you put in your phone number or your email address, and then they'll just let you know if it's active, once it gets active. And then there's also absentee ballot history. So if you're like a serial absentee ballot voter, you'll see all your history there. Absentee ballot voting is also good for those that live far. A question that I often get is, should I vote absentee ballot? By absentee ballot, or should I vote in person, just change my address? And I always say it's up to you. Like, it's really where you want your voice to count, where you want your vote to count. So, hey, that's something that you decide on your own time. But also something to note with absentee ballot voting, we know that mail is not reliable, always. Sometimes the timing is a little janky and wonky, so it is nice to do it online. They have the online application, and then you can download it on here as well.
And that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
The paper application to apply for an absentee ballot.
Is there a specific color that you have to use for any of these? Like, is it black or blue, or is it just?
Just an actual signature.
Okay,
Like, you can't digital PDF or any of that stuff. That's physically signed.
okay. So the color doesn't matter at all?
The
Okay,
color,
cool.
the color
We
of pen.
prefer black or blue.
Okay, cool
Like,
beans.
not like glitter pen or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, that's valid. One other thing to note, just real quick, let me go back to, is that you can actually watch this. So that's that's an in-person, but right here, when I mailed one in, I just kind of watched this until it said accepted, so I knew that they actually got it. So some miscellaneous things that you should know. If you continue going down the page, let me make sure we started. Yeah, we have everything there. If you have questions or you're running into issues that you just can't solve, there's also some contact information for the Cobb County Registrar there. This is why we check early and often, because we want to know if there's any issues very far ahead of time. You don't want to do that the day before the election. So let's be checking those things early and often. If you continue down the page, almost at the bottom is some information that's specific for you. You can click on these links and look at the people who represent you and what your congressional districts are, all of that kind of good stuff. So again, that's sort of individualized that you can check out and do some research on when you have some time. Just a few more things to know. Melanie did talk a little bit about USPS, the Postal Service. Just know that the times can be slow. My mom will send me cards or send my kids cards, and they may not show up. So just know that sometimes you need to, not sometimes, all the time you should give yourself plenty of time if you're going to be sending things through the mail. In addition, you can actually drop off your absentee ballot at a drop box. That's what I did a couple of times. It's great. It makes me feel a little more secure because I know it goes straight in that drop box and that gets picked up by the folks in Cobb County for me. So that is just another option if you want to maybe make sure that you give yourself plenty of time. That's also good if you maybe are a procrastinator. Are there any procrastinators in the room? If you kind of waited too long, so you know that you have that option as well. The next thing that we want to make sure that you guys do is that you have a plan. Do not leave this until the last minute. You have so much information at your fingertips now, literally. We really want you to do your research and know that what you're voting for. And then of course, what ID are you gonna bring? Make sure you have it, make sure it's secure, make sure you're not gonna lose it, make sure you have it with you when you go. And then finally, how are you going to vote? Are you voting in person? Are you voting as absentee? Are you voting on election day? And then one thing that I think that we sometimes forget is, how are you going to get to the polls? If you decide that you're going to vote in person, or you're going to vote either in person early or on election day, how are you going to get there? If you don't have transportation, what's the plan for getting there? There are some areas that will provide transportation to the polls, but you have to kind of apply for that early. If that's a thing for you, please make sure that you reach out to us and we will help figure that out for you.
This is what we call the ballot marking device, also known as a BMD. So depending on which county you're going to, your setup could be a little bit different. So for in Cobb County, we have what we call a carrier. So it's like a big, like rolling unit. They're not in it. All of this is built, minus our scanner obviously, is built into that big rolling unit. So you'll go up to it and you'll stand in your kind of your little cubby section, and that's how you vote. Other counties, it's individualized like this, just depending on just where you are and how you're voting. But ultimately, it's all the same equipment at the end. Okay, so typically you would have, like I said, this right here. So when you're going into the voting, you're gonna have your ID, Georgia driver's license, ID, school ID, whichever one you wanna use. Again, make sure it's a photo ID. You're gonna go up to your poll worker and you're gonna fill out a voter certificate. It used to be pen and paper, but now we're all fancy, so now everything's on what we call the poll pad. Our poll pad is just an iPad. It's really what it is, but it's got special technology on it. And that has all of the registered voters for that particular county are built into that, that software that's on that poll pad. So you're gonna hand them your ID, they're gonna scan your ID, or they're gonna manually put it in depending on what you hand to them. And then you're just gonna verify some information, and then they're gonna flip that thing around to you, and then you're going to sign on it the same way that you sign for when you go buy something and you scribble on the POS system. It's kind of the same concept. And then from there, they're going to issue you a card, a voter access card, which is this right here. These are just demo ones. This already has a ballot already set on there. So you're going to go in, you're going to fill everything out, and they're going to put a ballot on the card. And then from there, you're going to put said card into the ballot marking device. Real simple. So arrow goes in. There we go. Okay, so what would happen is your official ballot will come up. There is a set of codes that were here that you can read, saying what you're attesting that this is your official ballot in the process. One of the things that, here, I'll take this off so you can see this. How she mentioned earlier about that there are different ways to make it more functional for you. So you can change the text size. So say, for example, you don't like, it can be smaller or you can make it larger. So this is the smaller version. This is the larger version. And then you can make it audio. So we don't want to play it for everyone to hear. So we have little headphones, old school headphones that you guys would put on if you wanted to do that. We have it, you can change the view. Like for example, I don't particularly like this view. It's not my jam. I prefer everything to be black. So I can change that if I wanted to. I could do white on black. That's easier for me to read personally. And then I could change it to be black on white, right? Or I can change it to be what we refer to as color. So it's not really color, but just that top part is. So again, depending on how your viewpoint is, you can change it. So anyway, those are there for you. You also have what we call the ATI, the audio tactical interface, also known as kind of like a little remote control kind of gadget thing here. And it will change everything for you, right? So you can hit the next. There you go. And it will make your selections for you, right? So if I wanted to do the Republican one, and I don't want to do that, I can control it and go up and down. So for this one, it's got a little bit of a test, not a test, but a little bit of a sampling of multiple things that you might see on election day. So say, for example, this one right here is for the judge of probate court. It's telling you that you could vote for one candidate, not two. You have the option that you can pick one of these people or you can pick none of them. You don't have to vote for anything. There are some people that will go all the way through to the very end and will print a blank ballot and they will submit it. That is your option, that is your right. You can do that if you want to. So in this case, I'm just voting for one person. So I'm gonna pick the top one because that's just the easiest right now. And then I'm gonna go to the next one. So the next one is for a county commissioner at large. It's telling me I'm only voting for one person. I don't like any of these people up here, so I'm gonna be my own write-in candidate. Now, the kicker with write-in candidates, and I believe that you guys mentioned it, I can write whoever, I can write my own self if I choose to, and we do see that. We do see people's names. I can vote for Mickey Mouse, also very popular, like probably the top one that we see. Or The only thing that you can do that's going to count is the official write-in candidates. So there's an official list of people that have qualified to be actual write-ins. So you'd write their names here. Very key is to spell their names correctly. So if it's like Samuels, that little S on that Samuels, you got to say it's S. You got to spell it correctly. So that's the key with the write-in candidates. So I'm going to write me, just do ME, because I can. And I'm going to hit accept. So I just write in me, so I voted for. And I'm going to hit next. And then this one is telling me that I need to vote for 2 candidates, right? So I'm going to vote for the top one. And then you know what? I don't like the other people, so I'm not going to vote for anybody else because I can do that. So I'm going to hit next, right? And then at the very end, I believe you mentioned these, that there are questions at the end that you can vote for. Same process, you don't have to vote for them. Also, like what she said, they are written by lawyers. So they can be very technical, so just obviously do your research before you get to that point. So I'm going to get down to here. So it says my ballot is invalid, but there are warnings. So it's telling me that I've done something that I should have done, that I've missed something. And in this case, what I've missed is, it says for the County Board of Education at large, where I should have voted for 2 people, but I made the choice to vote for 1, it's giving me a red flag to tell me that I'm missing a second selection. I'm still good with my choice, so I'm going to skip right on past that, and I'm going to hit print. But maybe I decided, oops, nope, I don't want that. I do want to go back and vote for somebody. I can go back to ballot, and then I can go hit previous, and I can go back to the one that I missed one, and now I can vote for Peter Wood. And I'm going to hit next. I'm going to follow through the same process and go back to review. So now I've got the green flag that's telling me my ballot is valid, that I have made all the choices that I could have made. So now I'm going to hit print. I'm going to print. And so again, there's another warning that comes up. It says you cannot make any more changes after printing the ballot. So it's giving you another flag to say, hey, are you sure this is what you want to do? So I'm going to print it, or I can go to review, but I'm good with my choice. So it's going to print out my ballot. Now, I've still not officially voted. The only thing I've done is mark on a piece of paper. That's the only thing I've done. So from here, you're going to, wherever you're at in your polling location, there's a review table that you can go and look at. So you can go and review to make sure that, hey, did it print out what I wanted? That's it's your third option to review at this point. And I can look and say, hey, did I want to vote for the probate court judge? Did I want to vote for this? Yeah, that looks good to me. It's got the right polling place at the top. It's got the right people that I wanted to vote for. I'm good to go with this. So even when you get to the scanner, there's a scanner monitor. There's a person, a poll worker that's going to stand there and say, hey, have you reviewed your ballot? It's another opportunity again for you to do a second, third, fourth pass at this point to verify your ballot before you put it in the scanner. Because once I put it in the scanner, we're good to go. I have voted. There is nothing I can do to make a change. Now at this point, all of this is a sheet of paper. I can make a change. I can go to the poll worker and say, no, that's not who I wanted. I want someone else. And then you can go to the poll worker, and the poll worker is going to take your ballot. They're going to go through a process, there's a set of instructions, and they'll essentially cancel this out. And then you can start over again with a whole new card and vote with the ballot that you actually want. So again, you have multiple opportunities to check yourself or do a review or whatever before you actually want to cast your ballot. Because again, once you cast your ballot, there's nothing that we can do, honestly. So, like I did this one earlier, I had to open this up. I opened the scanner. So on here, I mean, you guys can't see it, but it says 0 votes. So when you're going to vote, you actually can see this whole top part, you guys are able to see it. So you can see the number tick over. We like to tell people just kind of watch. It gives you a little something fun to look at. But for right now, there's 0. And I've got my little tape here that actually says that there's 0 on each one of these races that are assigned to this election. So for the ballot, I can put it in this way. I can put it in face down. I can put it in face up. I can put it this way, that way, whichever way. Kicker is, don't mess up the paper. Don't fold it. Don't get because this is our evidence. So you're going to take it. It'll catch a little bit more. So watch the number take over. You voted. You're good to go.